Okay, we're up to the Mishnah on Daf Yud Ches Amid Beis. We're up to the Mishnah on Daf Yud Ches Amid Beis. So we're going to see we're going to leave Hilchas Chol Moed and get into the halachas of Avelos. Ein kosin b'shari chayv b'moed. You can't write shari chayv b'moed. To write a shtar chayv for somebody, you lend somebody money, you're not able to write a shtar. However, the person does not believe.
Up too late. Where you starting? Where you starting? I'm sorry. Okay, okay.
And if the person does not believe you without a shtar, right, or the seiche or the sofer who writes the shtar does not have what to eat, then harizeh yichtov, you could write it, because that would be a davar avod. In other words, it would be a davar avod regarding the loan, and it would be, we said, one of the things you can do is give somebody to eat on the moed, that would be permitted. So that's the heta for that. And kaisen svarm tefillin mezuzos b'moed, again, if it's sarich moed, if you don't have them, of course you could, but just to write them up for sale, one will not be able to. And you can't go even correct from a Sefer Torah. I feel it was Sefer Ezra, even a Sefer that was from Ezra. We'll get back to this in a second. Rabbi Yehuda says, he could write it for himself for his own use, right? And if he needs the chelis for his tzitzis, he's able to roll it on his leg, which seems to be a shino. Usually they would roll it with their fingers, or we're going to see with a spindle, or even with a stone to suspend it and spin it. So with the shino, Rabbi Yehuda permitted you to go ahead and do it on the moed. Now this din about the Sefer Ezra, Rashi says it means very fascinating. There's a gersa change. It's not referring to Sefer Ezra, it's referring to Sefer Azara, that there was in the Azara of the Beis Hamikdash. Take the aleph and put it in a hay. In the Azara, there was a Torah, and that would be used as the paradigm for all the Torahs to make sure that they're correct. That's the Torah, could be that Moshe Rabbeinu wrote, that's the Torah that the Kohen Gadol read from on Achrenos. My son told me a crazy story about Ezra, this story with Ezra. I don't know when exactly it took place, the story. Is it something that took place? There was a very, very wealthy man, and he had in his possession a Sefer Torah that Ezra HaSofer had written. And after he died, he left I don't know, Sava, or they decided to make a goyrel between the two children, that one child would get the Sefer Torah and the other one would get the whole wealth. The one child would get the whole Sefer Torah and the other one would get all the wealth. And they flipped the coin. And sure enough, the person won, and this person who won the Sefer Torah was exceedingly happy. There was a certain min who just couldn't believe it, that a person would go ahead and give up all that wealth just for some clout. He couldn't believe it. And to go ahead and support his point, he went to the Beis Medrash one night, opened up the Aron, took out Ezra's Sefer, he erased an ayin, and he put in an aleph. From ayin tachas ayin, he put in an aleph. Instead of saying ayin tachas ayin, it said ayin with an aleph. That's what he did. So of course, they used the Torah and they got the Pashas Mishpatim, and there it was. They opened it up, and there was the mistake. The person who owned the Torah was destroyed. He couldn't believe it, because even if you fix it now, it's not Ezra's Torah. Because what happens as soon as the Torah is ruined, when you go ahead and write it, it's like you wrote the Torah. For example, when I had the Achnasa Sefer Torah 2 years ago, the Torah supposedly was written, but one of the people who was Mechabed messed it up. And the Sefer called me over. Even though I had written a letter, he called me over again to write a letter. I said, I already wrote one. So he goes, no, write this one. I said, the person, he didn't tell me who, messed it up, and now the Sefer Torah is puzzle. So by me writing it, it's like I wrote the whole Torah. So therefore, it's not, you'll correct the Torah, but it's like you wrote it. When you're correcting it right, then it's like it's not Ezra's Torah anymore. That night, that person had a dream, and he said, Ezra came to him in a dream and told him, don't worry about the Torah, I'll take care of that. And if you want to see something, go to the shul and look underneath the bench. You'll see an ayin tachas, because the guy the his eyeball popped out. Ayin tachas ayin. That's what happened. And that teaches you not to fool around with Ezra's Torah. We don't fool around with these things, right? Right? We can't hear you, Rabbi Rosenzweig.
secret within the Mishnah.
Yeah.
You don't wear.
So the shaila is, do you wear tefillin chalamoid, right? There's Torah on this. This is a right from the Mishnah that whether you wear, tefillin chalamoid, mashma, if you're not writing it, mashma, if you're not writing it, you don't wear it. But I think they Sfarim say that it's for sale, but that's why. But you could wear your own. You could wear your own. Again, there's Torah on this, right? There's Torah on this. Again, there's a huge shaila about wearing a tefillin on chalamoid. Torah banan. Kaisev adam tefillin mezuzas la'atzmai. A person can write a tefillin mezuzas for himself. The tavay al yerechai. Chelet tzasai, and can go ahead and roll on his thigh. Cheles for tzitzis ulacherim, and for others b'toiva with the yashakayach. You can make a trick. In other words, you're not allowed to go ahead and do business on chalamoid. So says Rabbi, if a person needs tefillin, you write the tefillin for yashakayach. Maybe this says, you know what? Since you're allowed to write for yourself, here's what you do: give him your own, give him your own, and then you'll go ahead and I guess you'd sell it to him, right? Because again, you're not going ahead and making something for the purpose of business. You're not doing the malacha, and then you'll be able to go ahead and write it for yourself. You can go ahead, write it normally. You don't need any shinoi. In order to panasa. Halacha kaisev u'moichel kedarkoi. The halacha is you could write it u'moichel kedarkoi kedei panasasai. In order for a person's panasa, you would be permitted to go ahead and write on chalamoid. It says v'tavei al yerechet cheles. You can go ahead and roll on yerechet cheles. Tarabanan. Tavei adam al yerechet cheles. Let's see. A person go ahead and roll on his leg. Let's avaloi be'evan. Let's say to take a stone suspended from the string and spin it. I guess I'm making that up. I know it's suspended, but spinning it, that would be a way of twirling it, right? Because that you would not be able to do. Or the rolling it on your leg you'd be able to do, but not on that way. Rabbi Eliezer's machmir. After Evan, you'd even be able to use the stone. Yehuda, he's the biggest mekel mishmoi in the name of the Chachamim be'Evan. Avaloi be'pelach, but not a pelach. You'd be able to use the stone, but you won't be able to use the spindle. Chacham moimim bein be'evid bein be'pelach. Be able to use the spindle. In other words, you can do it in a normal way. Whether it's a stone, bein be'pelach, whether it's with a spindle, that you could do it. So you see, we're being makel, fellas. We're being makel like Rav Yossi above, and we're being makel like the Chachamim below. That you could do it in a normal way. You don't have to do it in an abnormal way. Whether you could write on chalamoid, this again, this is sugya arucha in Shulchan Aruch. Writing chalamoid, there seems to be the sugya, if I remember correctly, you could write chidushei Torah in chalamoid because that would be a dava of it. If you go ahead, you forget your Torah, but you want to say that you will be able to write. So let's say you work hypothetically for hospitals and you came up with an idea how to save some money for the hospital, right? Then you'll be able to come up with an idea of doing that. Eshe, you want to say something? Maybe
you could co-save as tefillin on chalamoid because maybe you need it. You don't have tefillin for the day after chalamoid. When Yontiv is over, you need it, so you'd be allowed to write it.
Again, according to for yourself, it seems you could write it for yourself. It seems you could write it for yourself. Moshe wants to bring a raya that you from here that you wear tefillin chalamoid, right? So again, you have to see the sugya. I did not do the sugya. There's a big sugya over here. He has Ray bites on it once on this. Says the Mishnah. Says to that end. Says the Mishnah. Hakoiver es meisai. Someone who goes ahead and buries his dead, shloisha yomim kaidem l'regel, 3 days before the regel, batal imen gzeres shiva. The gzeres shiva is batal. So now, unfortunately for us, that people who sit shiva, and we do this again for the umpteenth time, that the regel has the capacity to go ahead. The regel has the capacity to go ahead and stop the shiva. Right? This Mishnah says you would have to sit 3 days. In fact, we paskin even a minute. We paskin, if you lose a loved one a minute before the regel, that would be mavatal the shiva. This mission is Shaloi Hilchasa. It's not 3 days, even a minute. If you lost even a minute, if you lost it, I know this file. As halacha, you would not have to sit shiva. Mivatal shiva. Aside from shiva, we have shloishim. So says the Mishnah is shmaina. If the mace dies 8 days before the regel, batlu men gezer shloishim. Because the first day that the 8th day already you start 8 days already you're counting the shloishim. This is not like Abba Shol who said the 7th day counts to both ends. So therefore you would also mivatal the 30 days. When they shomru Shabbos oilav einu mafsekes, Shabbos counts towards the number, but it's not mafsek. You don't say if a person loses somebody on Friday, Shabbos comes, it's mafsek. Right? We count Shabbos as day 2 of the 7, and then you continue on Sunday, day 3. Mishachar regalim mafsikin ve'ein olam. The margalim, they are mafsik, and they don't count towards it. They're mafsik, and they don't count towards it. So let's say it was mafsik a 7, but not a shloishim. You would have to keep the shloishim, start counting the shloishim after the regel. Let's say you only lost the shiva, but you'd have to after the regel, you'd have to count the shloishim. Or in any scenario.
What did you do? When you lost your father, first day Rosh Hashanah.
My father was nifta on Rosh Hashanah, so of course we didn't begin anything till after Rosh Hashanah.
After, so you have 30 days started counting after Rosh Hashanah.
7.
The 7 and the shloshim start also then.
Yeah. I was a normal level. Rabbi Eliezer says a chiddush that Shavuos after the Churban Bayis has a din of Shabbos that it would not be mafsik and it would count towards the days. Now, what's the difference between before the destruction of basic Mikdash and the after? We learned previously that even though there's only 1 day of Shavuos, you would have 7 days to bring your Karban Tashlumin. Right, you'd have 7 days to bring your Karban Tashlumin. So when the Beis Hamikdash stood, it's understood it's a yontif. Even the 7 days afterwards, it's a yontif. We spoke at the Meir Simcha, why counting Shavuos is the Raisa and days of the Rabbanon. We spoke that out. So Mashenkein after Churban Bayis at service is only 1 day because there is no karbanis. So therefore, Rabbi Eliezer says that it's not mafsik. It will not be mafsik your availus, nor would it take you to turn from the account. You would count that as well. Rabbi says Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim k'regalim. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur are regalim that they're mafsik, and they don't count. Like neither El Atzeres k'regalim. Atzeres has the din of regalim, right? And Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur Shabbos. Now, in fact, Rosh Hashanah would have been mafsik. But regalim at Seres is a regel and it's mafsik. So we don't pass like this either. We don't pass like by Rosh Chodesh. Also, we don't pass like that. I have to look up the halacha. Says the Gemara. Amar Rav, it says a cryptic statement that we need an explanation for. Amar Rav, Gezeris batlo yamim like batlo. The mevatel, the Gezeris they mevatel, but days were not battle. The Chaynam Rav Huna Gezeris batlu yamim le batlu. Rav Shesha says afilu yamim nami batlu. Even the days are batlu. So okay, now when usually my timing means what's the reason? Over here means my kamar. Like what's the explanation of what we just said? The my timer is not the usual my timer, right? Look at Rashi. My timer yamim le batlu klaimar. The eza inyan le batlu ayamim. Regarding which din are the days not battle? You're telling me that the gezerah of Shiva's battle, the gezerah Shloshim's battle, but the days not battle. Then what days are the days not battle? So that says the Gemara. I'll tell you what it means. Yom loy batlu shem loy gilach erva regel. If when given the opportunity to go ahead and take a haircut erva regel, and you don't, asal legaleach acha regel, right? Then it'll be asal legaleach regel. So guys, listen to this weird case. Day 8 of your shiva is on Friday. The regel starts on Shabbos. You would halachically be able to take a haircut on Friday. Why? Because the regel is mevatel, the shleishim. The regel is mevatel, the shleishim. Therefore, you should take a haircut. Now, we would hold that if you don't take a haircut, so then you would be able to take a haircut, not on the regel, not on Chol Moed, but afterwards you would. Why? Because the shleishim was batal. The chiddush of Rav and the chiddush of Rav Huna is that since you didn't take advantage of the chance to go ahead and take the haircut Friday, Yomim lay butlu, the 30 days not butlu, and you won't be able to take a haircut after the regel and after the Moed. We don't pass like this either, but till after the shleishim. No, it's Yomim lay butlu. The days are still in effect; they're not butlu. Look at Rashi, guys. Look at Rashi. My time of Yomim lay butlu. Klaimar Eza Inyan lay butlu Yom. What does that mean? Says Rashi Shem lay gilu erev regel. That if you didn't take a haircut erev regel, the chibali gezeres shleishim, because the gezeres shleishim was butlu. Again, since it was you started the shleishim day 8. The boy leile gluche erev regel, and you should have taken a haircut erev regel, v'loy gilach, and you didn't. Therefore, asa legaleach achar regel kol shleishim yom. So that's what it means. Yomim le batlu. Those days, the numbers will be in effect vis-a-vis this halacha that since you blew it, you didn't take it erev regel. It's not like batlu and there's no other days, and after the regel and the moed's over, you can take a haircut. You can't take a haircut. That's the words of Rav and Rav Huna. Rav Sheshes disagrees. Rav Sheshes says no, even though the days are bottle, and you would be able to go ahead and take a haircut. Amid Beis. V'atanya, this is a raya. Yeah, this is a raya. V'atanya, hakoiver es meisai shleisha yom koydon l'regel. Someone who buries his dead 3 days before the regel, but lahimenu gezerah shiva. It's butlu from him the gezerah what of shiva. Butlu menu gezerah shiva. Shmoni yomim koydon l'regel. 8 days before the regel, butlu menu gezerah shleishim. Right, and that's umegaleach erev regel. And here's the raya, guys. And in loigi lechach erev regel, asa legaleach achar regel. And if you didn't take advantage to take the haircut before, then it'll be asa to go ahead and take the what afterwards. Guys, good? Okay, these are the words. So that's what it means. Like batlu yom, and there's not batlu. Says the Gemara Vaita. Abishol, we met Abishol yesterday. Abishol oimer. Mutal galeach achar regel. We would, if you don't take a haircut before the regel, even though you could have, you're mutal to take a haircut after the regel. Shekashem shemitzvah shloisha mevatel gezerah shiva. Just like the mitzvah of 3 days is mevatel 7, kach mitzvah shiva mevatel is gezerah shloishim. So to the gezerah shiva is mevatel the gezerah shloishim. Says the Gemara shiva vanant shmeinatan. We don't, not 7 days. You need 8 days. The 8 days, the 7 days of Shiva, and the first day what? Following the Shiva, the 8th day. It says Merk Sav Abishol. Abishol is of the opinion Mitzvah Kikulai, that part of a day is considered a day. The Yom HaShvi, and the 7th day, Oilaloi Lakanu Lakan. It counts as the last day of the Shiva and the first day what of the regel of the Shleishim. That's what we saw yesterday according to Abishol. Amrav Chista, Amrav Avina. Barshila Alochak Abishol, the Aloch is like Abishol, that the 7th day counts as what? As the 7th day, 2 Alochas, guys, that the 7th day counts as the last of the 7 and the beginning of the 8th. And in addition, the second thing he argues on, and if you don't take a haircut Friday, you would be able to take a haircut after Yantif. Why? Because Yom in Batlu, the Shleishim was Batal, and therefore nothing's in effect, and you will be able to what? To take a haircut. That's the halacha like Abishol. Kiman Ozla, maybe I stopped short. Halacha Abishol, Moed Chacham Abishol, Kishal Shmini Sholodias B'Shabbos. If the Shmini is on Shabbos, Be'erev Regel, Shemutel Goyach Be'erev Shabbos, right? You will be able to take a haircut Erev Shabbos. Kiman Ozla Had Amrav Amram Amarav, Oval Kivin Shomdu. Menachem and Me'etzloi, since the Menachem stopped, Nichim Beilim stops, Mutter Berchitza, it's Mutter to go ahead and wash yourself. Keman, Ka'abashol. Mitzvah Yom Kikuloi, right? The seventh day they came in the morning. That's it. You will be able to go ahead and wash yourself like Abishal. Amar Abai Aloch Abishal b'Yom Hashvi. Aloch is like Abishal Yom Hashvi. U'Moed Chacham Abishal b'Yom Shloishim Damina Mitzvah Yom Kikuloi. That even though the Chacham say on day 7, you don't say Mitzvah Yom Kikuloi. On day 30, you would say Mitzvah Yom Kikuloi, right? You would say that. So on day 30, you would be able to, I guess, ostensibly according to them, take a haircut after the beginning of the day and do the other things. Rav is of the opinion that the halacha is like Rabbi Shol only regarding the 30 days, but not regarding the 7 days. The Chacham, the students of Nardoyama, halacha Rabbi Shol bezu bezu. The halacha is like Rabbi Shol, whether it's what it is the 7th day or the 30th day. Why? Shmuel is of the opinion halacha kedivya mekel be'avel b'shleishim. The halacha avelis were always mekel, right? I stopped after the word ba'avel. I read it wrong. Now Shmuel halacha kedivya mekel be'avel stop, and since the halacha is like that, we will mekel both ends. We mekel day 7 and day 8. Now where does shleishim come from? Shleishim yom minol. Where do we know there's such an avelis as shleishim yom? So and the 7 days they don't ask. As we said, "Va'afachta chagechem le'avel." I'll change your chagim into avel. So we have a pasuk that says that. So obviously 7 days. We know va'afachta chagechem le'avel that your 7 days will be. But 30 days. Where's the makar for 30 days of avelis? Again, says the Gemara. Yalov pera min nazir. We learn pera from nazir. It says by the kahanim. It says after the death of Nadav Avihu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells them, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Vashechem, your heads should not be on al tifro," meaning that usually you have to let the hair grow, but here by the Kahanim they said no, not by Nadav Avihu. Ksiv Hasam, it says by Nazar, Gadol Pera Sarosho. It says by the lashon of the Nazir. I think it's Gadol Pera. Gadol Pera. It says Gadol Pera. Gadol Pera Saroshai. Malahal and Shleishim Yom. Just like by Nazir, Pera means 30 days. Avkam, when it says Shechem al Tifru, also means 30 days. Bahasam in Alon. So now you're making say Shava from Kahanim, and therefore Kahanim can't, and everyone else should be unshorn. We know from the Nazir. How do you know Nazir is 30 days? Also in Alon. Amarav Masna, Stam Nazir Shleishim Yaim. Stam Nazir is 30 days. My timer, Amakra. It says, what does it say about the Nazir? It says, Kol Yimei Nidrei Tar Lo Yav Roishoi, and Lois Hayam Mashayas Kodesh Yiyeh. It says Kodesh Yiyeh. And what's Yiyeh B'Gematria, guys? Yiyeh B'Gematria is Tilson Habe. Yud and Hey are 15, Yud and Hey are 15. Amar Funa Breda Yeshua HaKol Moedim, Kishachal Shlishi Shalal Yos Erev Regel, Shas Rechitza Erev. Everyone is Moeda when his third day is Chal. The third day is Chal on Erev Regel, Shas Rechitza Erev until evening. You can't go ahead and say Mitzvah Yom Kikulo and do the beginning of the day. Amar Nechem Breda Yeshua Ashkasinu popular Papa the Asri Vikama Halacha Rav Huna. The halacha is like what? It's like Rav Huna Breda Yeshua. The halacha is like Rav Huna Breda Yeshua that everyone's Moeda when the Shlishis that Erev it's also take a haircut. Iked Yami Amar Nechem Breda Yosef Ashkasinu Rav popular Papa Rav Huna Breda Yeshua the Asri Vikama Kol Moedem Shem Chal Shlishi Lios Erev Regel Shasa Rakitza out of Erev. Okay, that'll be to the evening. Okay, we'll stop over. Okay, thank you for listening.